Good evening, everyone. Okay. Yeah, I think, let's see. I think, well, Dick was going to direct the meeting, but, Chanel? Oh, okay. Hello, everybody.
Hello, good evening, everybody.
Okay, can you hear me, guys? Okay, well, that's good. That's very important. Let's see. Jacob, you have the agenda?
Yes, Faye.
Okay, good. All right. Thank you. Let's see. The screen. All right. Let's see. Eliana's CB12. Let's see how many members we have here. Let's see if I can fix my oh, I'm gonna put a little bit blurry. Let me go back to blurry so they don't have to. All right, I think that's better. Yeah. So let's see who we have. We don't have community affairs yet. Let me text them. I'm gonna post myself. Jacob, did you know it? Did Joe give you the telephone number of Officer Len?
I'm just double checking that.
Because I'm surprised he's not here yet. Yeah. I don't know if you have his email,
Yes, I do have his phone number. Let me give him a call.
please. And let him know that the board sent him the link so he can get in, and we're waiting for him. We're already on the air. Thank you, Jacob. Okay.
I wasn't able to get a hold of him, but I just left a message and will text as well.
Okay, so in this case, I guess that we should go ahead and initiate the meeting. I'm gonna call the meeting to order and then give it to you. All right, let me get the meeting. All right, good evening, everyone. My name is Faye Florimon, Chair of the Youth and Education Committee. This meeting is called to order at 7:08 p.m. And I would like to welcome all of you and thank you for your time. I would like to immediately proceed to go over the agenda and give you some heads up as to what to expect. As you can possibly see, maybe can we share the agenda? We may need that. Yes, we're gonna have two presentations. One of the presentation will be on the title of Youth Stress and Resources Fair that is going to be presented by Officer Lam from NYPD Community Affairs Bureau Outreach Units. And a second presentation will be provided by Arlene Rodriguez Martinez, Program Manager from Jazz Power Initiative. And her presentation is about, Jazz Power Initiative brings to Uptown high quality jazz arts education to youth and adults. Following that, we're gonna have, everybody will have the opportunity to ask questions. And also immediately, so that will be followed by the all in new business where you all will have the opportunity to share any community announcement, including members, of course, at that time, and then our meeting will be adjourned. I just wanted to remind you that today is going to be the last meeting until September, since our board will be on recess until September. I believe the board by itself, not the committee, may have some other meetings in July sometime is we are accustomed to, but in respect to our committee, this is the last meeting until September. I also, September 11, by the way, that's when we will resume. During this meeting, I'm going to concede the floor to my colleague Jacob, who is going to fulfill part of his promise to this committee. He will explain more in detail exactly what he is going to be doing. And perhaps since he's going to speak about his goal for this committee, he may want to take the next presentation as well, and I can concede the floor so he can chair or co-chair this meeting of this evening. And then I can always come back at the all in new business phase. Now, for the records, I just wanted to call each member to identify themselves. And once we do that, so I would like to concede the floor to my colleague Jacob so he can proceed presenting the rest of the agenda. So member, please identify yourself for the record.
Hello. Highly specialized world of forensic stalking.
Hello, good evening, everybody. My name is Elvin Adamus. I'm a community board 12 member.
Hi, this is Mariam James.
Hey, comedian.
Forensic reconstruction.
Let me see who else. Louis, Maria James. Jacob, you want to identify yourself for the record? Or are you speaking to someone now?
No, sorry. Hi, everyone. Jacob Annis, a community board 12 member and a member of the Youth and Education Committee.
Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Luis Cruz. I'm a community member of community board member of the Youth and Education Committee. Sorry.
It's all right. Yes, Maria.
Everybody, hi Faye.
Hi,
Thank
Maria.
you for allowing me to join as a former member of Community Board 12. It's very hard for me to use that word, former, but I am going to be around, I hope. So I welcome all of the new members. Just a little brief story. I am the longest serving Community Board 12 members in Manhattan. I don't know about Brooklyn, but I served for over 40 years. Very happily, I served in most of the committees. Number one, I was the chair of the panel. That was the first Dominican woman that has served as a chair of the community board and any community board here in Manhattan, in New York. I was also the vice chair. I was the secretary. I chair the land use committee, the housing committee, the youth services committee. You name me, I've been there. So I have a lot of experience, but my experience, I want to share with you that you promised me, the new members, you promised me that you're going to do the best you can, because we are representing one of the best communities in the state of New York. I'm not talking about city, in the state of New York. And you should be proud to give your time to make sure that the future leaders of our community, the young people, are going to be looking at you to see how you're going to be opening the path for them to be productive people for their family and for the city of New York, but especially for Community Board 12. So thank you, Faye, for allowing me to give my little speech. I get a little sentimental because Community Board 12 have been part of my life for so many years. Have a fantastic meeting tonight. I see your agenda is a little long. And I also tried to get Faye to make the meetings a little shorter so people can
Yes.
so people
Yes,
can
you
stay
have.
with us, as opposed to get this up. Oh, I don't want to be in the meeting that is like 3 hours or something like that. No. So, good luck to all of you. And believe me, I am one of the people in Manhattan and one of the immigrants that are very proud to have served my community. And I hope I continue in good health in the future. So thank you so much.
Well, Maria, knowing that this is your last meeting as a member, so I really and deeply wanted to thank you on behalf of all my colleagues. And working with you has been a great experience, and I really, quite grateful of all your support. And I should say that your faithful participation, because seldom you had missed, a meeting, and that's something that I truly respect and highly value, most definitely. I can tell you that you are going to be missed very much. But, I guess it's one of those things in life where we have to say, okay, this is it for me. Now I'm going to close this chapter, turn the page, and going to move into, something else. So you always will will be remembered in this committee as someone that we highly respect. And we're going to be collaborating with you in any shape or form that we can possibly can individually, and also as a committee. So you're always welcome to present anything that you want. And you may have, this might be your last official meeting with us, but you will be in my heart, and I hope in the hearts of my colleagues consider it as a member always. I want to deeply thank you very much for everything that you have done, not only for this committee, but for the entire community as well. And I wanted you to know that.
Thank you.
So without any further delay, I don't know if my colleague wanted to say anything, but I wanted to handle the floor to Jacob so he can proceed with the agenda and do whatever presentation and business we may have to go as is indicated on our agenda. Jacob, is your floor, and thank you so much for volunteering to share in the meeting tonight.
Thank you, Faye, and I'm echoing all of those kind words to Maria. Maria, you've been an inspiration as I've started to become more active in this board, and I've really appreciated learning from you as an example over the past year and a half that we've been serving together. So certainly we'll continue to look for your voice in the community, if not on this board. Thank you for everything that you do. And you'll be pleased to hear that perhaps our agenda tonight might actually be a bit abbreviated. I've been reaching out here to a few folks that I had hoped to hear from. And if they drop in later, we'll pick up there, but I'll take it to the next part of our agenda here. this is part of a commitment that I had made to this board and to this community, a goal of mine for this month of June, in recognizing that it is LGBT Pride Month here, and many folks are excited to see that. I had hoped that we could address the needs of LGBT youth in our community, and also the needs of the parents of LGBT youth, because it's a very complex topic. And beyond the needs of the youth themselves, especially in our community, I think that's very important to have resources for parents of LGBT youth who may not know how to handle that, how to go about that, and it can be very difficult. So over the past several months, I've had conversations with folks in our community here who have those kinds of resources, and had hoped to get one of them in here as guests for our meeting. I had spoken with Officer Connor Lang from the NYPD Community Affairs Bureau, who I had invited to be our guest at our meeting tonight, and maybe he's gotten caught up somewhere doing something. We certainly appreciate all the work our officers do to serve our community, so I'll have to follow up on that note. But since he is not here, I wanted to just take a minute and talk a little bit about the kinds of things that do exist in our community, the reason that we know that there's a need for these kinds of resources. One of the groups that I had reached out to is the Dominican Women's Shelter. They run a day center for LGBT youth. Now, youth are not allowed to spend the night there, but for youth who may not have the safest home environment, whether that's because they have the relationship with their caretakers, or they just don't feel safe in that space, whatever that is a place that those youth can go to rest, to recover, to find shelter. That is a very good and very real thing that we have here. And another thing that I wanted to call attention to in our neighborhood is not so much serving our community directly, but as they often do, serving all of New York City, is the Columbia Hospital System. Columbia has a gender identity program, and what this is beyond the medical side of LGBT life, the certain needs of lesbian, gay, bisexual folk, especially trans folk as well. Beyond the medical needs is the psychological needs, and the psychological needs for adolescents who are beginning to learn how they identify, but also, again, for the parents and the families as a whole, who, a lot of parents, when they're raising kids, they don't necessarily envision that as their child's future, but that's the reality that some parents go through. And so to have a service like that in our neighborhood that will help folks to understand the needs of their children and how to best help them grow to be the best people they can be, that's really what it's all about. And so I personally, my commitment, although we seem to be lacking the guests that I had hoped tonight, is to continue to follow up to make sure that those sorts of resources are highlighted, especially in these spaces, for folks who may not even know they need them, who may end up needing them, and at least we'll have that out there. But with that all said, and since we don't have our first guest at the moment, should they join us in the later in the meeting, I'd like to be able to come back to that, but I think I'd like to move to our second guest at this point. And so with that, I would love to turn it over to Arlene Rodriguez Martinez from the program manager for Jazz Power Initiative. Do we have Arlene with us?
Yeah. Jazz Power Initiative, yes.
I am here. How are you?
Great. Thanks for having us. Thanks for joining us, Arlene.
Thank you. Thank everybody for inviting me. I'm super happy to be here. Always a pleasure to talk in Community Board 12. As Maria said, we're part of a great community, and indeed is very good to see when we have opportunities to take care of it, enrich it, as Jacob was also talking about. So thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to be here tonight. I had a presentation. I don't know if I could share it.
Yes, you should be able to. Let's see here.
I'm gonna grab some water quickly.
Well, while I do that, I can talk a little bit about myself. I'm Arlene Rodriguez Martinez, a program manager for Jazz Power Initiative, a local nonprofit organization that is looking to transform and has done a very good job to transform lives through jazz arts education and performance. Let me see if I can add it now. We are very, very happy to be in this community for the last 10 years. It's been wonderful, and also knowing that we are in times of great needs for the arts, great needs for the youth to connect with the arts and all the wonders that the artistic expression can bring to the human being. We are very much happy and glad to be a partnering organization to this community and to all its members to help them connect and tap into those needs through jazz arts education. We do free programming, especially in the sense of the youth, with programs at no cost or very low cost fee just for registration. In training in jazz voice theaters, because pictures are always very nice to see. Let me see if I can
Yes,
share
you
it.
should be able to share your screen now.
Oh, no, tell me I closed the one that I shouldn't have closed. Wait. Okay.
There you go, looking great.
Yay. Okay, perfect. Oh, what's this? Is that me? Okay. So as Fe said at the beginning of the meeting, I wanted to present Jazz Power Initiative, bringing to Uptown high quality jazz arts education to youth and adults. I would like to talk about now the two upcoming formative experience and encounters that Jazz Power Initiative has produced. One is the Fall Youth program training, and the other quality jazz arts education to youth and adults. I would like. Oh, is it having feedback?
It was me.
Oh, okay.
Sorry.
Nice. Okay. So yes. So let me see the movie. Okay. So Jazz Power Initiative is a community-based performing arts and educational nonprofit organization founded in 2003. Jazz Power serves thousands of New Yorkers and visitors annually, students, teachers, artists from all ages from 8 to 80, to build more creative and inclusive communities. It's led by managing and artistic director, Dr. Eli Yeaman, and highly experienced teaching artists who are award-winning jazz and theater and dance professional. JPI also offers multidisciplinary training, scholarships, and performance opportunities to New York City youth.
It's gone.
Youth from every area, and so at low or no cost to families. So these pictures that you see here, the first one is one of our community concerts that was done in 2018 at Mascota Marsh. We did Latin jazz meets African American dance. So that was just a great a performance, one of the type of performance that we do for the community, free and no cost. And the picture in the bottom is very recent. It's from the rehearsal of Noah's Ark, the jazz musical. We are still buzzing over it. It went super great. That was a part of our youth program, the Spring Youth Program, where kids get trained for free in voice, theater, and movement for 12 weeks and locally based. We did the program ran at Holy Trinity Church. That's 20 coming, and we of our mission is to bring, as it's I stated earlier, all these great forms of encounter in arts and education uptown. You don't have to go necessarily. If you want, of course you can, but not necessarily have to go way downtown to get a great experience. So pictures. This is some of the pictures. By the way, we just wrapped up the spring youth program, and again, we're still buzzing, super happy. We had 17 students, most of them from Washington Heights and Inwood, but also receiving kids from New Jersey, Queens, taking really advantage of this situation of getting in contact with teachers and at no cost and doing great work. And we're very much passionate about jazz and teaching its techniques because they are so useful for the human being in general. They learn about improvisation, they learn about stomp and clap, also factors that are very historical as well. So this is a program that touches about not only culture but the history of music, of American and North American music, which comes from the roots of blues. So this is our kids. We're super excited about them. We had a great show, and looking forward to next year, of course. So what I wanted to talk about is our fall youth training program. So the youth program, we divided in 2 seasons, the spring and the fall. The spring is a 12-week program and it's a performance training where the kids have a big presentation you just saw. And then the fall is an 8-week program where we try to go more in depth in the training aspects. Also, the good thing about it, well, both of them are very good, but the plus in the fall youth program is that we offer private lessons in voice and piano. 30 minutes in voice and 30 minutes in piano. And we also, for the families that don't have a keyboard, we provide a keyboard for them. So the fall program is an award-winning transformational 8-week multidisciplinary program where they get trained in singing, acting, piano musicianship, and movement. So our voice pedagogy cultivates awareness of voice function for healthy and expressive and free singing in African American singing traditions, which is the foundations of many styles of American singing, including jazz, blues, gospel, R&B, rock, pop. What we want to in the pedagogy that we utilize, they pretty much can sing anything of what we are hearing now, because again, blues is like this sediment, the platform of all these music genres that have flourished. So the kids get trained and great techniques for just becoming like amazing singers in whichever genre they want to continue exploring. Our theater pedagogy uses holistic body, mind, and spirit methodology in a variety of social consciousness literature to train youth also in diction, articulation, moment-to-moment acting, and breath work. So it's amazing. I sometimes try to sneak in one of these classes to see if I can manage to get any wisdom poured into me. So it's really great and also very. So piano keyboard musicianship provides basic orientation to the keyboard, location of pitches, intervals, triads, and many other aspects of the fundamentals of piano playing. So the full program just really looks into enrich the students' learning experience in the jazz world, and also getting more one-to-one opportunities that normally in the spring we don't have that much time, because what we are preparing for is for a presentation of a show. So what do you need to know about this fall program? We just started auditions. Well, we're going to start auditions. We just opened the auditions. is for 5th and 8th graders. It's a 2-hour, 1 day a week group training. So 1 day a week, they train for 2 hours in jazz voice, theater, and movement. And then in the weekends, they come in for 1 hour. That's divided in 30 minutes for private piano lessons, which is great because all of it's the tuition is free. We also do engagements, family activities. In the spring, we tend to do a picnic where we foster a moment to connect with nature and with each other and not talk about class, just hanging out and doing play. And so for the fall, we have field trips regarding the history and the culture of jazz. Again, this is for students from 5th to 12th graders. I say with 8th graders, but sometimes when I get into like a more intimate environment, you should know that we have received many ages interested on this. So we also look into what's the interest of the youth, and to see we have kids so young as even in 3rd and 4th grade. So it's really depending on the child's commitment. $25, and the full program tuition fee is totally free. It's not a fee, it's just tuition free. It's an inward-based programming. Again, we're keeping it local. A great opportunity for then families don't have that burden of, oh, I want to take my youth, my kid to a good program, but sometimes it's way downtown. I don't necessarily can commute. I'm working, or I'm still not comfortable on my youth to take the train. So this is keeping it local and keeping it with a great quality in the arts education. Our teachers are the Dr. Eli Jamin, which is artistic and managing director of Jazz Power Initiative. Theater is Kenna Onjejekwe, and Antoinette Montague is our personal great jazz educators in this jazz field. So what's next is that we have auditions on Saturday, June 24th and Saturday, June 29th. Please see the flyer there. I'm gonna also add it in the chat where you can register for the auditions, which are free. And again, more details at jazzpower.org /fall auditions. And if you want to see our last fall program, a bit about it, we did a documentary which came out super great. You can scan the code, and I'll also add it in the chat so you can take a look at a little bit more. It's a 17 short documentary, but it really gets into testimony of the kids, the parents, and all the teachers that we have for the fall.
Very good.
So next, oh, I'm sorry, I thought somebody said something. So next is our Jazz Power Institute. Since 2015, we have the Jazz Power Institute at Lehman College that has been offering training and insights to artists and educators in teaching jazz across disciplines of music, dance, theater, and writing, and also facilitates ideas to implement the wonders of jazz to your educational curriculum program. If you're a teacher, if you're working with kids, you wanna have more insights of how to make your class a little bit more dynamized or just jazzing it up. We also train teachers on how to do this. So what to know is a hands-on transformational and multidisciplinary learning experience that will be led by Dr. Eli Jamin, who is, again, the Jazz Power Initiative Managing and Artistic, Tom Dempsey from LaGuardia Community College, Antoinette Montague from JPI, Kenna Onjekwe from JPI, Phil Bingham who is an excellent and renowned choir leader from the Barry Harris Institute of Jazz and the Mercedes Ellington, which is just like amazing in that part. And she's coming from the Duke Ellington Center for the Arts. Again, all of this is free, and you can register at jazzpower.org/institute 2023. It's going to be great. Again, it's free, which is, I think, just amazing when you have finally, not finally, but when you get this type of opportunities, and again, locally, it's kind of like a match made in heaven, I would say. So if you're interested in connecting, please write to me or can give me a call. Rodriguez Martinez, Program Manager for Jazz Power Initiative. My email is arlene@jazzpower.org, or Arlene in English at jazzpower.org. That's the number of our offices, and you can follow us through social media at Jazz Power. So thank you so much for your time. If you have any questions or comments, again, I'll leave all these links at that as well.
Thank you, Arlene, for coming in and giving this presentation. It's a wonderful thing that we have here in our community, especially with so little cost to folks who may be interested. I do have a question myself, and then I want to turn it over to questions from the board members, but was curious if you could share for your fall program for youth, what is the usual amount of students that you can take in that program?
So normally we've taken the max is 20, so I've gotten there. It varies very much through seasons. Before that, Jazz Power was going into 30 and 40 students, but then after COVID, things have taken a time to like start up. We're still talking about COVID. It's super interesting. So lately we're doing from 20, 25 kids.
Great, thank you. And that's all I have as far as questions go, but I wonder if my fellow board members have anything they'd like to ask. I see Luis has his hand up.
Yes, well, great presentation, by the way. My question is, are you guys an SYP provider? And if so, are you guys partnered with any organizations that other nonprofits?
Sorry, I hit myself. Yeah. No, we're not. We are just collaborating with other nonprofit as a project base. It's really something that we are exploring more, and would like to continue to have that type of course, connections. We do partner with Cloth and their community events where there's some type of health drives as well that they've had. More so in the artistic performance part of it, where we, again, since it's super interesting because we have like this both two worlds going on, music, we have our band, we do performances, and we also produce also the youth. So I have to say it's pretty fun in that sense. So sometimes when we do partner with other collaboration organizations, it's more on that side of the performance, the supporting performances and bringing music and the communities. But yes, we are very much open to collaborate with other organizations to see how we can, of course, support each other. We did recently on our spring program had a student from Culture for Culture, I believe, that part of the name escapes me. That they work with students that have come from foster care. So just now, next week, actually, we do have a conversation with them to see how we can continue that support, because she came because she knew about an audition, and right away I decided to try to connect to see how collaborations more in the performance side, but we are also very much open to do others in the programming educational part of it.
Perfect. So in case of any collaborations, who should the community or the public should get in contact with?
You should get in contact with me at arlene@jazzpower.org is my email. And from there, depending on whichever needs, of course, we start bringing other people from the team in the conversation.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Lucas. Pleasure.
Miriam?
My question to her, she said that they audition. Do they have to have any previous training, or how are the auditions rated?
So no, previous experience. The auditions is more so to see in what track of the program the youth, the child can fall into. So we of course ask if they have any previous experience, and because we also have an intro class for those kids that are not necessarily on a level of that has like no knowledge on any of the techniques in singing or dance or a movement or piano. Then we do an intro class where we start giving them the basic information about what we normally do in the fall program training, because it is a training that has to have some type of, at least, the kids that can pick up on any prompts, or are not too shy to try act out. So on the audition page, you can find all the prompts that normally happen in these type of auditions. But we do they can audition with one of their favorite songs. So then the teachers, when they hear them singing, they can pick up on any potential of placement of in the program or in the intro class, so they can start building their artistic character. And we give them, in the theater sense of it, we're gonna give the registered uh, youth a text that they act out as they wish. So it's more so you come and you do some pieces, but it's also to see where the level of the kid is. If they're very loose and like to do performances, or they're very very green, and we come off first with an intro class that can propel them then to get into the training program.
Okay, and my second question is, when you're doing the jazz, is it all the new age jazz, or do you go all the way back? Like
Yes.
all the way back, Ella Fitzgerald, Billie Holiday, Sarah Vaughan, Dinah Washington. Do they go back, or is it all nouveau jazz?
It's mostly all the way back. It's very much a nice ode to the roots of the jazz. And every once in a while we do start diving into more recent sounds of this genre, like Latin jazz, for example. That's very much recent. And actually, we do have a concert next Thursday in Will Hill Park, where we will. My God, all the words English, where we will be presenting Latin jazz and swing jazz as well. So hopefully you can make it next Thursday over at Inwood Hill Park. But yes, we do go way back, and Duke Ellington and Miles Davis, all of that.
Let's see who.
Excellent. I do want to raise one other question here from the chat, put here by Emily Marte, which is Jazz Power Initiative looking for to increase their capacity of music educators to intake more youth?
Yes, we are. Luckily also, since we are, of course, breathing and living thanks to the support of many organizations, individual believers and the agencies. We are, of course, looking to expand, and precisely for those reasons, because besides of our after school program, which is the Spring and the Youth program that I've talked about today, we also do residencies, school residencies. And of course that takes a logistics and you know, many hands, many teachers. We collaborate also with many teachers to make this happen. So yes, you have hit the question that we are working hard on right now, to make sure that the expansion can continue and more youth can be reached. Yes.
Excellent, thank you. Any other questions from our board members?
I personally,
Livia.
yes, I personally, thank you, Jacob, if I may, yeah, thank you. So, well, this presentation, this is not the first time, you know, that she's presenting. And of course, I'm quite familiar with her program, but one thing that I'm just curious about, how the last event that they had this past Saturday, which I unfortunately missed it. I just wanted to hear how exactly did it go?
Well, it went marvelous. It went incredibly magical. I am just so sad that I didn't take more pictures, which is so not in my nature, because I am taking a lot of pictures, but we had our videographer and a photographer there, but I mean, like, from me, because, you know, but it just went great. We had the 12 weeks of doing this condensed version of Noah's Ark, the jazz musical, where we talk about climate change and the need to be more aware of our actions and how we can work together to do so. As the kids were, so since it's a jazz musical, we had a live band there, a saxophone, drums, piano, bass. So
Wow.
the kids were also, you know, exposed to that. It's really an exposure of of course, real life performance life, you know. So for those kids that really like to perform and really is looking into the arts as their, you know, their forte, they just had a great experience. We had a full house, a lot of parents. We had some teachers of the kids were there, our board members, a lot of community people from the community. They saw a flyer and decided to pass on by. So it went super amazingly great.
I'm sorry that I missed all that. And Jacob, just one very last thing, I just wanted to, and thank you, definitely, Arlene, for, you know, for you know, joining us tonight and basically keep us, you know, updated and all the things that you are doing. I just briefly wanted to welcome all our, you know, new members that are, you know, with us. Jacob definitely will follow up with you and give you the opportunity so you can introduce yourself so we can learn more about after the next presentation. But I want to personally to welcome Elvin Adames. Thank you so much for joining us. Haiti Gussman. and Tanisha Grant. I'm very happy that you guys, are joining us, and I hope you consider joining this committee. And Miriam, of course, are always very, appreciative of your presence. Thank you so much for actually deciding to come back. I thought that we lost you. So thank you, Miriam. So back to you, Jacob.
I think we have just a couple more questions from folks. Domingo, would you like to speak?
Yeah, so what schools are you in the district?
So we're working with PS 278. We have worked with PS 18, with Wheels, with IS 143, and then the others are from the Bronx, New Jersey.
Okay, cool.
and- yeah.
And I basically said that because the superintendent started reconvening the United at the Palace committee.
Yes.
I'll be participating on that. So if you're interested in next year being able to perform at the United Palace, I believe the date is going to be June 7th, if I'm not mistaken, of 2024. Something to think about, preparing a group of kids to be able to present. Last time we did it, I believe we had about 3,500 people. I think he's pushing for 4,000 to 5,000 this upcoming year. So just so you could speak to folks at your organization in regards to participating at United at the Palace.
Actually, Domingo, we had a great meeting with Mr. Ramirez, and of course, because we are looking for very much for the support of all communities, agencies, and leaders. It's been kind of difficult in the part of the recruitment. I sometimes feel like I understand Jesus with everything that he went through, trying to give also good information and not always getting the ears for it. So yes, thank you so much. We do have it in our calendar in our site of work on this.
Okay, cool. So if anything, any follow-up, just let me know. Or you can let Faye know and she'll put you in contact with me.
Okay.
And we'll be able to support you with that. I know it's difficult because sometimes you get, principals and administrators get caught up on the everyday
A
task.
lot of work, yes.
But just know for sure that
Yes, a lot of
we're putting together a committee that'll be able to support with that. So don't feel that your voice is gonna go unheard.
perfect. Thank you so much. Really appreciate it.
I do want to have one last quick question. I think I see we're joined now by Officer Connor Lang. Thanks for joining us. I want to come back to you in just a minute. And if there's this last question for Arlene, this is put in the Q&A here by Shoshana, which is, how can the community volunteer and support Jazz Power Initiative, i.e. fundraising, program support, etc.?
Well, perfect. We do have a network that's coming up and slowly but surely growing of community volunteers that can go all the way to assisting in volunteers for performances, to also the youth program. You can go to our web page, Jazz Power .org, and there you can see all the ways that you can support. That be donations or volunteering, or also then writing directly to me. I'll leave again in a bit all my information in the chat, and also I can then connect you to the proper place of your interest.
All right.
Wonderful, thank you. I don't see any more hands, but if there are any other questions, now's the time. Otherwise, I want to thank you, Arlene, for this presentation. I think Faye mentioned we've met with you a few times, and we always appreciate you coming and sharing when new programs are about to start. It's a wonderful thing that you all do here for the youth in our neighborhood, so thank you.
Ditto on that feeling.
If I would love to come back to the earlier part of our agenda now, if we may. a little rusty on my meeting procedure, so I apologize. But now with Officer Connor Lang here, I was introducing everyone earlier and sort of queuing up the conversation that the goal of this board has been to bring in someone to this particular meeting to talk about the needs of LGBT youth in our community, and especially the resources that are available to them. And so Officer Lang Fei and I had connected with Joseph Navarte about that sort of thing, who introduced us to you. And so we are very happy to have you here tonight to talk about the work that you do and just the sort of things you see and what's out there. So I'd love to turn it over to you, if I may.
Can you hear me? I don't know if this is working.
Yes, yes.
Oh, I'm so sorry for my lateness. I do train all of the new recruits and all of the supervisory officers within the department. So I was kind of in the middle, and it kind of went a little bit longer because I had a lot of questions from the recruits. So I do apologize coming in at the late end of this. So as of right now, I am the only officer within community affairs outreach, and I am the outreach officer for LGBTQIA community. So what we do is we connect with the community, we collaborate events, and we're just really trying to reconstruct our relationship with our community. I do attend a lot of GSAs within the schools. I answer a bunch of different questions. I define the acronym. I kind of, if there is an event, I'll go, I'll introduce myself to friends, to family, to anybody. My goal with this unit, one, is to get more officers with me, because there's been a lot of movement within the department. So unfortunately, I lost a few through to transfers because they had other opportunities for them, which is fine. But once I get a bigger team, I would love to just get more involved with school. I like to cover bullying and bias incidents towards the community, especially young kids. I'm actually working on a project to put together an instruction and a lesson plan for the high schools and junior high schools within all of New York City, but that's going to take a little time. But it is something I'm working on. I'm open to other opportunities. Of course, you know, being a trans guy and part of the community, it's important to me on a personal level as well as, you know, a professional level. So whatever, you know, if anybody has anything, any interests, you can always shoot me an email or contact me, and I am always available to introduce myself and maybe come up with new ideas and new techniques to reach out to our community. What I do see is a lot of hesitance from, I would say, more of the trans community to our department because of all of the terrible situations that have had occurred in the past. Of course, that's a relationship we're trying to rebuild, and being part of the transgender umbrella, I think it does help, especially with sex work around the city and kids that are still a little, you know, uneasy around police officers. But that's what I see, a lot of homelessness, especially in the teens, you know, when they're not accepted by their families. They are in a situation where they turn to suicide or self-harm, or they'll get kicked out of their homes and now they're out on the streets. So if we hear about them, we always offer services. We have a very good connection with different organizations that can help them with either housing, maybe employment if they're at that age, or even college. So there's always, you know, a bunch of resources that I have to offer. With the connections I've made very good connections with Ali Forney. I made very good connections with Destination Tomorrow. The Queen, I think, is a bunch, Anti-Violence Project. I have a bunch of connections as far as organizations. So I'm always here to help and offer that for anybody who's in need. I don't know.
Fantastic, thank you. I want to see if any of my fellow board members have questions for you, and also maybe they can give a quick intro to themselves, since we usually do that at the beginning. But thank you so much again, first of all, for training our officers. I think that's critically important, so certainly understand the lateness. That is a very important need that you're fulfilling. And great to hear about some of these resources as well too. I think one thing that I have a question for you, and then I'll turn it over to some other folks, is just one thing that I was focusing on and explaining earlier is not just providing resources, well, certainly providing resources for youth who need those resources, but also providing resources and educational opportunities for families, parents and caregivers that may not necessarily understand how to best serve the needs that their child has. Is that something you could speak to for a second, just that sort of work that you may do? I don't think I can hear you. So,
How about now?
yes.
We're good. So, believe it or not, in my community, where I live, I do it on my own time. I do workshops where I invite any kind of parental, any kind of family, grandparents, everybody. And I have a meeting. I actually, it's kind of like a workshop like I do in the academy, but I do it more on like a personal level. And I have one next week on next Monday. But that is something I've been thinking about organizing. I think my team has to build up a little bit more. I need a little bit more support, but that is something that I would love to kind of go ahead and do and within NYPD. Outside, I've already done it on my personal life, so I know how to organize it. I know how to set it up and promote it, and then invite any families or anyone who has any kind of questions or maybe need a little more understanding onto what their child is going to. Maybe some of the risks need to be, introduced to them to what their child might face as far as rejection from their family and loved ones. So that's definitely a project I would love to kind of work on once I get a few more. Again, my team just kind of transferred like not even like a few weeks ago. So once I get my team back, that's definitely something I would focus on. Absolutely.
Great. Miriam, do you have a question?
Do. You say you have a lot of resources. A lot of these kids are minors. How do you get their parents to consent if they need consent? So the programs and resources that you're offering them.
So now typically reaching out, can you hear me?
Yes, I hear you.
Oh, okay, just making sure. Okay, so typically what happens is when I reach out to the resources like the organizations, they would contact the parental guidance. Like let's say somebody's 16 or 17 and out of their house. Technically, I think 17 is okay to receive those resources. If it's an organization working with a child, they'll contact the parents and they'll go further with that. I can only pretty much supply the resources, talk. I have helped many juveniles. I helped this one kid who came from Texas and he was kicked out of his house because he was trans, and Ali Forney Center took him in, housed him in 24 hours. It's all about, the relationships you have and, the needs of the child. And if they're homeless, of course, they'll find placement right away, especially if they're younger in age. They'll put that at the top of the list rather than somebody who's a little more older that, can handle a little bit more on their own. So to answer your question, it would have to be more along the organization and how they attack that issue.
Okay, and because it's kind of hard, it's hard for them, and
Right.
it seems like they need to be taken off the street so they're not preyed upon by, I call them vultures.
Yes, absolutely. And also, I think I'm going to speak for trans females. I think they tend to end up along the lines for sex work because they feel like they're not able to get other work, whether that be bias or issues within organizations. So I am working on possibly having a job fair, and I'm working with the organization. Well, there's a group in NYPD. It's called Options, and I was talking to one of the officers in Options, and I want to arrange a class for any one of the LGBT, anybody who identifies queer or whatever. I want to offer a wig, creating, making wigs. Maybe they can make their own wigs for themselves, or they can make wigs and sell wigs for another employment option. Because I find that there's a lot of trouble as far as trans female young women. And I don't want that, sex work to be their only source of income. And it's so dangerous. I work with a lot of bias incidents. I work with a lot of the community in Jackson Heights. I go and visit them while they're standing on corners. Of course, it's illegal, but I go as a community affairs officer. So I'll go and I'll introduce myself. And of course, if somebody's, working or, standing on a corner and they get assaulted, that's still a crime, regardless of why they're there. So we always offer, me and the liaisons will go out. We do outreaches during, we'll go out at midnight. We won't come back in until 6 a.m. because that's the time they work. And we'll introduce ourselves. We'll give them our contact just in case they need our information. They have a situation. They don't feel comfortable going into the command and filling out a report, or they're afraid of uniform officers. So we'll just go out and we'll introduce ourselves so they have a contact that they can trust.
Okay.
that's
Okay. Within the community affairs division, you have your community partners. Wouldn't it be great if you could consider them and have a training for them where they can go out and help you as volunteers?
For the outreach.
Yes.
I never thought of that, but yeah, that could be something. I know we've joined some outreach teams from other organizations. We've never invited people, but we've been invited too. So I don't see why that wouldn't be something that we could do in the future. Absolutely.
Because your community partners are great resources in our communities right now.
Right.
And I'm not very active as a community partner, and I would love to volunteer. If you could, if you would give a training to the community partners.
Yeah, that's a great idea, actually.
Okay.
That's something I can talk to about. Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Lovely. Any other questions from our board members here?
Well, if nobody, I want to be the last one.
I don't know that we have many other hands, Faye, if you want to go ahead.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Officer Lando, again, for joining us and enlighten us, with all your knowledge. This is something that, as sensitive as it is highly important for the community to really get to know exactly about this topic, and hopefully, someone either via YouTube or via Facebook, or anyone that may be enlightened with this conversation can pass this information to anyone that might be interested, whether it's a parent or a young, person may share this important information. So, but my question is basically more linked to your experience, given the nature of this topic and the complexity that is, because not many people, whether it's a young people, which in this case it's that I'm referring to, may have probably may feel with the free will to volunteer how they feel and ask questions about, how different they feel. But the direct question to you is, in your experience, what has been probably one of the most drastic situations that you have come across with any young, folks that, going through this experience, trying to coming up and say freely, this is what I am, and or having any kind of trouble identifying, identifying himself, as transgenders, or basically volunteering his identity, or having trouble identifying his identity. What has been like the most difficult case that you had witnessed or come across with?
So something that I witnessed as a police officer?
Yes, even as an individual, yes, because I guess that besides, being an officer, maybe just randomly in your civil life as well.
Okay. So, so I've worked with a young kid, like I mentioned, the Texas kid. I won't say names. But so he came out to his family, and his family denied him. He was biologically female. He was assigned female at birth. He told his family, I am trans. I want to, go and get gender reassignment surgery. I want to start my hormones. This is what's going to make me happy. His father kicked him out. So he ended up in the Bronx because his sister lived out here, and he came all the way to the Bronx. And then he ended up in, services, I don't know. I don't want to say child protective service. I know that's an old term, but services. He was in foster care because he was underage. I think he was 16 at the time. Then finally the services, they couldn't hold him anymore because his family wanted him back. He was a minor. He wanted to join the military. So he went all the way back to Texas recently, a couple months ago, actually, probably last summer. And he reaches out to me and he's like, my dad does not accept me. He keeps calling me his little girl. I don't know if I can do this. Now he's out in Texas and I can't help him because, again, my jurisdiction is here. I can call his dad. I can speak to his dad. I can explain everything. But because he's out there and I'm out here, there's nothing I can do. So that would be a difficult situation for myself because I know what it's like to express yourself and not be seen. And it's very hard. And I talk to him very often, if not every day, every other day, just to make sure, he can keep a level head. He's right this August. He'll be 18. So he's right there. He's about to go into the military. And then once he gets off into the military, then he can, take control of his life. So I give him the support he needs, every step of the way. And I would say that's probably a difficult area for me. Also, bias incidents. I'm very passionate in helping others. Hate crimes is a very real thing in the trans community. I can't really go into great detail, but some of the a lot of the scenarios that these women go through are grueling. They're just heartbreaking, and not being able to help them because they mistrust us. They don't trust us because of the past of the department is very hard to tolerate. It's very hard to come around. I'm trying to connect with community members. I'm trying to, show, look, we're here too. There is community in the department, but of course we're a smaller group than the rest of the department. So we're not seen as visibly, so that's another area. But I do get a lot of proactive. I was, a patrol cop transitioning, and I was on the corner of a street, and there was a protest last summer for Black trans lives. And one of the groups of protests came at me, and they started cursing me out and yelling at me. And one of the guys said, oh, you're, they used derogatory words, calling me she, her. And then one of the girls next to him says, you don't know that. So they actually changed the pronouns they were using. Oh. So in a way, they were trying to get at me, but they were respecting me at the same time. So I wouldn't say that was a negative situation. If anything, I took a positive move out of that situation. So that would be a positive scenario that I went through. But
and if I may, and thank you, for elaborating on that. I think that's very, very important, because I'm sure other folks can take that as an example and perhaps, exercising themselves as well. The next question also that I have also throughout, your path into this, let's say experience. What is one of the most common gender identity that exists in your personal experience among young people?
What, a gender identity exists?
Yeah, the type of, whether you see that there is a group that identify more as a transgender, or how do you call I know there is about like 7 type of, but which one among them you think is like the most common one that you can think of?
In my
Like could be like trans,
in personal life or in work life?
it could be both, but you know, that you have witnessed, that you think that it's like a common trait among young people. What would be that type of gender identity that you see that is more common?
Cisgender.
Transgender?
Cisgender.
Oh, cisgender. Okay.
In my field, in my line of work, because I focus on the LGBT community, I do meet a lot of trans, non-binary people. But in my personal life, I see a lot of cis people.
And just a point of clarification, if I may, for
Please.
folks who may not be familiar, cisgender, and correct me if I'm wrong, Officer Lang, is a term that means that you identify in relation to how you were biologically born. For example, I'm biologically male, I identify as male, so I'm a cisgender male man. That's all that means.
Exactly. Thank you.
All right. Well, I will not ask more questions, although I'm very curious for my learning, but for my own learning purpose. But I wanted to conceal the floor to other Cali.
Miriam, is this a new hand, old hand? Any other new question?
It's a new hand.
A new hand. Okay, go ahead.
Tanisha, yes.
Somebody else?
Miriam,
Tanisha.
let's hear from Tanisha, and then Miriam, you can go,
Okay.
right?
No
No,
problem.
Marianne, go ahead, Marianne. I'll wait.
Okay.
You sure? Okay. My
No problem.
question. Okay, thank you, Tanisha. My question to the Officer Lang is, the young person from Texas who you said is going into the military when they turn 18. Do you think that's a good idea with the way the military is? Is that going to help him or her or them? Is that going to help, or is that going to maybe make it worse? Because with the way the military is, even now they say on the news that, oh, they're this and they're that, but they're still the same old boys. That's what I call them.
Yeah. So I've explained to this young kid, I explained to him that the military can be very assertive and aggressive. And he just kept explaining it's nothing different than what he's dealing with at home. I mean, you're talking about Texas. They don't like the LGBT community right now. It's a very red state. So I don't really want to get into politics, but every time I said, a lot of people of our community, when they're younger, they think that running away from things and going into the military is going to help, when sometimes it does. It has a positive, support behind it, but sometimes it makes things even worse. And I mentioned to him, like, just keep an open mind, and, if this is really what he's looking to do, obviously, go for it. He wants to be a cop in the future, which I think is important to keep a connection with, because he does want to come back to New York. And again, he could be a future police officer that could be sitting in my seat and helping our future, which is great. He just thinks that military will help structure him and give him the discipline he needs. He does have to go in as cisgender female, because, well, not cisgender, but female. He does have to go through as female because he will not have the gender affirmative surgeries. He won't be on testosterone, and his recruitment officer stated that it would probably be an easier application, which I find it's tough, but I'm sure the military doesn't have gender neutral locker rooms and gender neutral bathrooms. So for his safety, he thought that it would be the right move to make. And then while he's in the military, maybe transition while he's in there. But I did go through it. I did say there are a lot of risks in his decision, but he kept confirming that it's just what he needs to do for his safety.
Well, I'm going to pray for him, because the military, I don't think, is a good place, because he's not going to have support.
Yeah, I know.
I that's what I personally believe. I can't say what anybody else believes.
Right.
I wish they would go another route, honestly.
Yeah, I understand the concern.
Okay, thank you.
Tanisha, did you want to
Tanisha.
speak?
Hi, Lang. I want to thank you for joining us, and thank you for your presentation and all of the work that you do in our community. So I heard you say that you work with community-based organizations, for the youth. I'm just very curious because when I think about youth services, when I think about organizing the community, I think about diversity, a word that has been weaponized against us. And since I am a Black woman, I want to speak for the Black community in Washington Heights. So I heard you say that you're still building up your team. How diverse will your team be? Because, when we talk about bullying and we talk about the things that are affecting the LGBTQ community, I think that we get caught at our intersections, right? So I have, there's a big problem with anti-Blackness in Washington Heights that no one wants to talk about, but that, one of the reasons why I'm on the community board is to point it out, because I am a Black woman who's born and raised on Washington Heights, and not only me, but my children, my family, my community. I'm on Sugar Hill, so I'm down, in what was called Harlem, but is now Washington Heights. And, when we talk about being ignored and being inclusive, I would also like to say that the suicide rate for Black children is high as well. Whether they're, whatever their intersection is and however they identify as. So, I just want to know your thoughts about working with different community-based organizations, maybe some Black-led community-based organizations, because again, I believe in culturally responsive and culturally relevant sources and resources for our community. And, I just think if you could speak a little bit about that, I would appreciate it. Thank you.
Sure. So my old team I have a partner. His name is Ralph George, Officer Ralph. And he's a Black cis man. He's like 6'2". He towers over me. His gender expression is very feminine. So again, he's a tall Black man, and he'll wear a dress or he'll wear a gown, and he's very proud of who he is. He's his sexual orientation is gay. But he is so proactive with the young community. When we go to schools, he is his mouth. He's just so good. He interacts with children so well. Unfortunately, he's out sick, so he's not around right now. I also, now these two have transferred out. I had a Mexican gentleman who worked in my unit, who again identified as a male, and his sexual orientation was gay. And I have a Spanish female who was in my unit. She's temporarily transferred, but she'll come back hopefully after the summer, which I'm hoping for. And she's a lesbian, and she's I think she's Puerto Rican. So we are very diverse. I know I'm like the white guy in the unit, and I'm the only one left. We are very diverse. I do have to say and express that one of the things I focus on is, especially my teachings, is the Black trans and Black and brown trans community, and the homicide rate that comes across those people is just unreal. And I exaggerate, and not over, positively exaggerate, like how important it is to recognize transphobia and the hate towards the community. I'm not just talking about LGBT community. I'm talking about the Black and brown community. It happens way too often. I break down life expectancy of an average human being, which would be around the ages 70 to 75. And then I break down the life expectancy of a Black or brown trans woman. And that is around 30 to 35 due to homicide and killing. Like, it's homicide and hate crimes. And I can't express how much that hurts, and how much I emphasize how important it is to recognize transphobia and how hate can pretty much discriminate and take away a whole group of people. So I am very proactive as far as, you know, diversity and working with different groups. I do work with the EEO, the Equity and Inclusion department a lot, and they work again with, you know, inclusion and speaking to, you know, minority groups. I can definitely maybe proactively set up something possibly with the sergeant that I work with. I just had a Speak Your Piece tabletop event where 2 commissioners answered questions from young teens, and any question they asked about, you know, the harm caused to their community and what the NYPD is doing to resolve these issues were answered. They walked in very cautious and very nervous with their questions and walked out confidently with their answers. So again, that's a proactive way to walk towards the future and recreate our relationship. So obviously, if you ever have anything you want to bring up to my attention, maybe a collaboration, something that we can proactively move together with, I am definitely available for that. So yeah.
Thank you, Lang. I really appreciate that.
No problem.
I did see one other question in the chat here. Emily Marte was expressing, wondering how we can increase awareness about this from youth to adults. And personally, on that note, I want to say that at least in this case, this is part of that. This is why I really wanted to have these discussions. And thank you, Officer Lang, for handling our barrage of questions so well. But yeah, what are your thoughts on that?
I think maybe I don't want to say community meetings like how they do in the precincts. They have like a meeting where the community comes, but maybe we can possibly do like I do a workshop on my personal time. Maybe we can put together a location where we can flyer and send out information and, you know, explain like, look, this is an event that we want to have. We want to answer anybody's questions. And I can invite the workshop group with myself and we can do almost like a GSA. Maybe we can have it at a school, in an auditorium or something where the parents and the children, or maybe just the parents want to attend, maybe just the children want to attend, maybe both parent and child want to attend. This way, it's an open social experiment. It's a social situation and anyone can ask any questions and we'll have the answer to provide. Maybe they need a little more enlightenment in certain gender identity, sexual orientation, and we could break that down for a parent. And maybe go over some statistics and, you know, enlighten people that might not have the answer to some of these questions.
Very important. Yeah.
Great. I want to have probably one last question, and then we do unfortunately need to keep moving on our agenda tonight. But I see Heidi has a question and hasn't spoken yet. So Heidi, would you like to go ahead?
Hi, thank you. Hi, everyone. I'm a new member of CB12. I joined last month. Thank you, officer, for your presentation. I appreciate your efforts, specifically in the efforts of the department in this matter. I work at the CCRB as an attorney, so you know, I am just sort of curious. Anecdotally, I have seen a sort of trend with trans, queer, like non-binary folks who come in with complaints, a sort of sense of feeling like misunderstood by the officers in the incidents. And right. I was wondering if you could just speak to whether your trainings are required and whether there's a continuing requirement. I know that sometimes they do it in the academy, and is this something that has to be done ever so often? Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. So in the academy, they get the full 4-hour training. It's a 4-hour training. They learn all of the acronym, transgender, non-binary, all the gender identities, all the sexual orientations. They learn how society plays an effect on people's perception of this. They learn about institutions and how, you know, the institutions play, again, a part in how you perceive this community. And that's required. When you get promoted from rank, say you promote from PD, police officer, to sergeant to lieutenant to captain, even chiefs and PC, police commissioners, we have trained. This workshop is trained, right? So every time you get a promotion, we train you. Now, if you do end up in a CCRB or a legal matter that pertains to this subject, you're also going to get that 4-hour retraining because obviously you didn't hear something, you didn't get something, whatever that situation is. Every year there is an annual video that everybody has to watch and take a test on every year. So that's how far the training goes. If somebody wanted to sit in our workshop, they can obviously, so they would just have to contact Lieutenant Arboleta and that would be available to them. And we would adjust a seating arrangement for their attendance if they wanted to learn more. So it's always open and available. But yeah, yeah.
I love to hear that. Those trainings are definitely impactful. I think one last thing for you, and then we'll let you run off to your evening, is just if folks would like to get in touch with you, what's the best way for them to do that?
So I left my email and my phone number on the chat.
Okay, that's good.
And contact me at any time. Please be in mind that June is a very busy month for me. I am a little bit all over the place being solo, but I will always, reply back, get a hold of you. I am really interested in possibly doing that Q&A with parents and children. I think that is a great idea. As far as, the diversity group, that's another thing I would definitely love to put together and present. So obviously you can email me. I'm good at text messaging. You can text message or call me at any time.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much, Officer Lang, for your work and for your time tonight and coming to speak with us. We greatly appreciate it here. And with that, I'll keep our agenda moving along here. Feel free to stick around if you'd like, or if you need to get back to business, I totally understand. But definitely love the idea of a training at some point, and we'll be in touch. I want to move into new business at this time. And as I understand it, Faye has a resolution which she would like us to consider. So I'll share on the screen here the resolution, and Faye, if you would like to speak us through it, perhaps.
But Jacob,
Yes, Faye.
thank you, Jacob. Before we move to the resol, maybe you wanted to share your goal, because today you have fulfilled your goal. And I did send you the email, so you can, if you want to share with them, so they have an idea exactly where we're heading and what we can accomplish. And thank you for fulfilling your goal, because your goal is being fulfilled today with this presentation. So I think I sent you, I don't know if you received it yet.
Yep, I've got it. So what Faye is referencing, when this board began planning at the beginning of the year, many of us set out to say certain topics that we'd like to cover, issues for the community that we'd like to review in one way or another. And so we created this matrix of different sort of topics that we would like to bring up. The topic that I had proposed was addressing the needs of LGBTQ plus youth in the Washington Heights and Inwood community, and appreciate Officer Lang coming to talk to us a bit about his work. I think that it was a really great conversation that we had tonight. And if anything, a lot of the questions that we have just go to show that there's still more work to be done about understanding the needs of our young LGBT youth as well. And so certainly other topics that we want to cover throughout the rest of the year once we're back from our summer break. Anything else you'd like to say on that front, Faye?
No, well, I just want to really, thank you because today you have fulfilled your goal. Your promise has been fulfilled. So your topic is being covered today. So far, our also previous conversation with bullying, which is on March 13. And although we also promised to bring the conversation of public versus charter school, part 2 was not delivered on the 4th of March, but it was delivered eventually on May 8th, if I'm not mistaken. And today, of course, we have your goal met as well. So the rest of our Cali, I guess, will be moving in September. So they will, bring whatever topic. Of course, this is subject to change. They can change the topic, as you can see on the first column, where we have several, in the first column where we had all this topic on the first row, in a horizontal way. So, all direction, you can see all the topic that we are promised to discuss. So there is a lot more to come. So hopefully we have sufficient goals still met before the end of this year. So, and I want to thank you for fulfilling your promise. And thank you for also, co-sharing this meeting. I don't know if anybody has any question regarding this. If not, we will move to the new business. I don't know also if you want to give folks, the new board members, the opportunity to speak at least few seconds about themselves and, identify.
Yeah.
That
I
would be
see
great.
a hand from Domingo. Do you have a question here, Domingo?
Yeah, it's just I'm a bit confused because we talk about this matrix. Like if there's two topics, right? Like the topic that I'm on could have been infused with the public versus charter school part 2 discussion, right? Issues aligned, but I think like moving forward, I think planning has to be a bit more cohesive as opposed to just putting stuff out there just because we discussed it doesn't necessarily mean that that was my goal for the year. I thought that I was adding to a conversation where I just meant to say, hey, look, working in this district, this is something that might be a great topic, that was my personal goal. I must have misunderstood it, but it's a bit confusing because I would have assumed that what was my goal, quote unquote, right, would have gone into the public versus charter, being that it's a distance thing and an oversaturation of charter schools within public schools. And unfortunately, I wasn't able to engage in this event due to the fact that I do have programming on weekends, like I expressed since I entered this committee. But I think like for me, I'm a bit confused because that wasn't necessarily my goal. That was just chiming into a conversation. So yeah, thank you.
Okay, let me respond to that. I think that we had ample back and forth discussion. And as it was stated on all the emails, I volunteered to share with the committee 11 topics, which represent the needs and let's say the challenges that the Department of Education is facing. And among them, as you see, anti-bully and the charter school versus a traditional school or public school was the one that I promised the community that I'm going to be, delivering, and we did that. So I understand that and remember when you say that perhaps bringing the conversation of violence, that's something that in fact, you say that in June, that's something that you would like to have. So we have a lot of time to, all members have a lot of time to decide, not necessarily to stick to this, because every information in this metric is because you all decides that this is what you are going to speak, but this is not, of course, written and a stump. But yes, you mentioned that, and you did have the opportunity to change or to say permanently what exactly will be your goal. And I think to that, Maria, Joe, all the rest of us can attest to that. You guys, we have a lot of conversation, a lot of emails that many of you did not respond because you did, yes, volunteer those topics that are on the metrics. So you did say that potentially that was your topic. And since that was the only thing that you volunteered, that's the only thing that I added on the metric. But still you can change whatever you want to change. But yes, you say that. It's nothing that we created in case. And just to clarify everything, you did mention that topic. And that's why this topic was included in the metric. And last, I'm really sorry that you feel confused. But you have ample time, ample opportunity, and many email were sent to you so you can actually come up and say, what exactly is it that you wanted to, what is your goal for this committee? But again, we can change it. Thank you.
Yeah, fair, but I want to be very clear. The board doesn't work through emails. The board works through committees. So if you feel that it's necessary to have these type of conversations, we can't, like, as a former chair of a committee, I wasn't even allowed to have discussion during emails. So emails is used to basically make announcements. But as far as discussing committee business, that's not done through email. That's done through these meetings. So if you feel that it's amply important, like you state, right, to be able to address these via email, I think this should be a standing a standing meeting item where it's discussed at the end of the meeting instead of expecting us to constantly read through the 300 emails that we get per day through the community board.
No,
Just to
no.
be completely fair. So yes, while I understand you, there's a lot that's being discussed. We also have to consider that we work and we volunteer for this position.
It's
So there's
all,
there's other, we're not retired individuals. We're just waiting for an email from the community board. And I want to be very clear with that.
No, let me
So,
be very
yes.
clear then, and if you allow me to, because the time is pressing, we're pressing for time. This was a conversation in committee. You can go back and revise all the conversation that we have since January up to even, I will say, April. We have a conversation as a committee, as we are meeting today, we had that discussion. It wasn't one of those discussions that you volunteered that topic for potential goal. And that was just a reference, let's take it as a reference. But we need a topic from each of you, and each of you volunteer that. What we do when we agree into something in committee. So we then go ahead and we start communicating via email what we already have discussed. As a matter of fact, if you go and you check the minutes, you're gonna see what you spoke. So the email represent what we have already promised during the meeting. That's all. And again, you don't have to necessarily stick to that topic. You even refrain if you don't want to volunteer a goal. It's okay with us. But that you volunteer the topic and you say that you would like to have that kind of discussion, yes, you did say that. It's not that we invented that, but that's okay. You can always change your mind whether you want to participate or you're not. And as you say, we all volunteers, but being volunteer means that we're gonna at least invest some time of our free time to get something happen. So, and so far we've been delivering our promise. You can.
Yeah, but I just want to be clear. Something happens doesn't mean something that the chair dictates to happen.
No,
Because that's always been the problem. So let's like,
what do you mean?
If you talk about cohesion, and doing stuff, let's talk about how we could create a collaborative system to be able to work together.
Well, I think I've been very cooperative and been very,
This is Maria, hey.
Yes.
Both of you. I think we are off the topic. I think we have to move on. And this is my third Zoom since 4:00 this afternoon. I don't know if you noticed that I was just having.
Clarifying.
No, I just having a sandwich because I couldn't take it. But I think that we have gone through this conversation before, Domingo and Fe. I think it's time to move forward. I have to say to the new members of the committee, to the ones that are hoping to join our committees and those that are participating, that Fe has been doing a fantastic job. Domingo has also provided so much of his time and his background to lead us to where we are right now. So I think that we need to focus what are we going to do from September on, as opposed to what we did and we couldn't accomplish the way we wanted to do it in the past. Otherwise, we are going to be sailing on, on some issues that are really already addressed by all of us, the charter schools, the marijuana, the gays, and now I think the presentation tonight was awesome. As I said to Fe preview, the two presentations tonight was really extremely important to, to our committee. So now what do we do from now on? Faye, I have to say that I have said that to the chair of the Community Board 12. You have been providing so much leadership about the youth in our community. Sometimes we like to accomplish more than what we go for, but that's nature. So now I think that the metrics that I have been, included for all of us to participate have been accomplished. I don't know about the resolution tonight. I didn't have time to, to analyze it, but can we just go into that? And
It's just a draft. It's just a draft, Maria. So let's leave it as that. Let's leave it as that.
because
Okay.
it's
You will
it's
see it.
already,
It's
a
all
little-
right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
okay.
And thank you,
I'm
Maria.
sorry, I'm sorry, but I just.
It's
know-
okay. It's okay. He just need clarification and I tried my best. That's it.
Yeah, no,
Point
okay.
well made. All
Okay.
points well made. I think the crux of the situation, and as the current co-chair of the meeting, I want to keep us moving along, but essentially planning is difficult. And there are a lot of topics that we want to cover as a board. And so I think it's a good point from Domingo that perhaps as we regroup in September, we can determine, well, what sort of agenda items do we want to have for October, November, and how can we do those? I know when I set out to talk about LGBT youth issues, I purposely chose to do it in June, having had this discussion months ago, because it's Pride Month and it seemed appropriate. But I want to keep us moving here. I do want to give new folks a chance to introduce themselves if they would like, and then I want to move into reviewing this draft resolution. That is what I would like to do.
Thank you, Jacob. Yes.
So our new members want to say a quick hello. Heidi, Tanisha, Elvin, any order.
Hey,
Hello.
so
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
no problem. My name is Tanisha Grant. I am a resident of Sugar Hill, Washington Heights, for the last 47 years. I am a community organizer. I have a community led organization called Parents Supporting Parents New York. Actually, I have two: Parents Supporting Parents New York and Moms United for Black Lives New York. New York City. We are a social and racial justice community organization. It's good to be here because I work mostly in Harlem, but I live on the Hill, and I want to bring the voice of the community members around my way to the community board. I work a lot in education. I spent the beginning of this year up in Albany. We're still, advocating for now the city budget, but I spent a lot of time up in Albany on all of those issues that were on the diagram that Faye just put up there. Education and youth services is one of my fortes, one of the things that I do a lot of work in. And this is one of the committees that I will be trying to be on. And I'm looking forward to doing even more great things as a community board member for the youth. Thank you, Jacob. And hello to everyone on the committee. And I look forward to getting to know you all.
Thank you. Maybe Heidi, who next? Or maybe Elvin?
I can go next. Like I said, my name is Heidi Guzman. I was just appointed last month. I am an investigating attorney at the New York City Civilian Complaint Review Board, which is the city's independent oversight agency of the NYPD. I specifically investigate allegations of police misconduct pertaining to racial profiling and other forms of bias in policing. And so I'm just doing as many committee meetings as I can. And I was particularly interested today to hear from Officer Lang with Community Affairs. And that's all she wrote.
That's great. Thank you.
Hello, everybody. My name is Elvin Adamus. I was born and raised in Northern Manhattan, specifically around the Dyckman area. I'm a banking professional. I manage a full-service bank in Spanish Harlem. I do a lot of community work. I also co-founded Dyckman Run Club. It's a 501c3 nonprofit in the health education space, and I'm currently the acting president of the organization. I love the community board. I'm very excited. Now have the bandwidth to be on the board and time to dedicate to the board. So I was appointed the last last month, and I'm excited. You know, this is like the first committee meeting that I've attended as a member, so I'm very excited.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you, everyone. We're really excited that you're here and hope that you continue to join, perhaps even join the Youth and Education Committee as well. So moving right along here, I want to share the resolution brought to us by Faye. And Faye, do you want to speak about this resolution?
Yes, and before I do that, I wanted to ask you, I see that we have Emily and some board members. I don't know if we can promote them. Noemi, it's Noemi, the members, not sure, but maybe we want to promote at least Emily Martins. So I don't know if she can ask questions or anything like
Yeah,
that.
so sorry, I don't know how to do that and share my screen at the same time. You'd think I'd know by now.
Okay, let's see if I can do it. I know Jonathan. Okay. Okay, there she. All right. Hey, Emily.
Hello, everyone. Thank
I
you.
did it.
Sorry,
Yeah.
you were hanging out there.
All right. Well, for that purpose, maybe we should. Is Noemi a new member? I don't know. Well, not sure. All right. Yeah. Okay. Let's. I don't know if she has any question. Emily is already. She's not a new member. She's been with us. I don't know for how long, but she's an old member. I should say best. Yes. Emily, thank you for joining us.
Of course.
Yes. And Jacob, I want to thank you deeply, you know, for such a great, you know, job you're doing tonight. Definitely. And not only tonight, but always. You've been great to this committee. And I really appreciate all the assistance that, you know, you've been giving to us. We really need that kind of input so we can grow as a committee and get things done. I really appreciate it. So yes, so at the last general meeting, or at the last meeting to begin with, we passed a resolution that was proposed by Art Kellen. It was a new business that he brought up. And for the second time, you know, we always been kind of very, I would say, consistent and committed to give young people the opportunity to get involved in community. And speaking of, you know, giving young people the opportunity to get engaged, so I quickly, I was thinking, ever since we passed the resolution to allow young people to have the opportunity to get involved in the voting procedures so they can vote like anybody else at the state level, hopefully in the near future also in the presidential election. But for now, we have done two things. We actually were able to the advocacy that we presented back in 2015. So the law was approved in which young kids, they don't have to be 18 to join community board at 21, but they can join community board at the age of 16. So this turnaround, we want to bring this to a different level, thanks to the as I say, to the idea of Al Kellen that brought that business. So we now are advocating, or we passed this resolution asking the state to allow kids to be able to vote in New York State. How do you call, I forgot the word that I'm looking for, you know, just to be able to vote at a state level. So hopefully that resolution they will take in consideration, since many of our elected officials, I should say all our elected officials are in support of young people to allow them to vote at the age of 16. And also, you know, hopefully the entire city, New York City Council as well. So let's see what that will play out before this summer is over. I believe sometime in June, that resolution is going to be presented at the state level. So today I wanted to, at the conclusion of our meeting, taking in consideration that we won't be back until September, I wanted to propose this. I put this quick draft. Of course, this is asking for more elaboration. But the main focus of it here is in support of youth community engagement, building relationship for a strong leadership and better community. I'm a firm believer that if we help young people to get involved this is something that definitely can improve not only their skill as a future leaders, but also they will help to make a better community. And I think that there is a great, I would say, thirsty among many young people and needs. It would be the key word for young people to get involved in their community. Many of them may not know how to do that, and many they already into that. So, but if we as a community board, we focus, part of the things that we do, we focus or devoted some time and encouraging, the school system and folks and parents to, so they can, at least they can start with us. So I wanted to present today so we can read that. I wanted to read everything, as you can see, or maybe you already, you can read it yourself, but as a matter of protocol, I wanted to call a motion to open the discussion for this resolution. If I want to have is anybody's willing to second that motion to open the discussion?
I'll
Excuse
second.
me, didn't this resolution has was a great number of support by the general, the membership of the board already? Am I missing something really that we need to strengthen?
Let me take one step back to explain what we are doing here.
Because I just didn't follow.
No, I tell you what I'm doing here right now. We already passed a resolution, and that was sent already to all our elected officials, asking as a community board that the New York State legislatures approve or support young people to get involved, or they've been allowed to vote in a state election. That was done. Now, the second, what I'm presenting today is, for your consideration is, so we as a community board, so that we support the idea of youth or young people, their community engagement, to get involved in the community, building relationship for them to have a strong relationship with the community, but also at the same time so they can make a stronger leadership. At the same time, also, I feel that creating leaders as a result of getting involved in their community, that can empower and make our community much better. So the line here, which is just a draft, all this is a draft for your consideration, saying that this is a resolution in support of youth community engagement, building relationship for a strong leadership and better community. This is just a draft. We're going to improve this with all your inputs. This is something that this is how I perceive this in my mind. Now, I wanted to call a motion so we can start discussing this, I'm bringing this business so we can start discussing this possible draft, whether or not this is something that you think that we should follow, or this is something that we should completely disregard. But we need to, I want to call for a motion so we can start debating this proposal. If it passes, if you like it, while we be debating, we all going to have the opportunity to correct this, come up with other lines and propose whatever you wanted to propose. But this is just a draft. That doesn't mean that this is going to be entitled as it is. So any question before we proceed with moving to calling for a motion?
I have a lot of questions, but I just don't know how to, because I don't want to stop or put
Let me ask you this question. Maybe this question going to help you. Do you think that the community board should support the idea of encouraging?
I'm on a community board meeting. Oh my goodness, they're gonna think you're. Oh, sorry, y'all.
Okay,
no,
Maria?
my concern was since we already passed, Community Board 12 passed a resolution this past month, this will be too close to continue
Doesn't matter.
this type of
No,
movement.
doesn't matter. No,
that
Maria.
needs okay, so that was my concern.
It's okay because
Okay.
we are here now. I don't know tomorrow. So, and this is,
But you are saying here-
our ongoing work is just to keep advocating. Because I advocated yesterday for better school doesn't mean that I cannot advocate tomorrow.
No. I'm sorry. No. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying that in the last whereas that I see, the Community Board 12 calls upon all the Board of Presidents offices and their community boards in New York City to support that means that this particular resolution will have to go in front of the Board of Board meeting that all the presidents of community boards meet once a month with the Board of President at his office to be presented to them, because this is outside of the city council and all that thing. So I just
Okay.
don't know how
Okay,
how we going with this at this point. I'm not stopping you. Believe me,
Okay.
I'm not stopping. It's just that
I got it, you now. I
need a little
understand you
more
clear.
work.
I
You need to
understand
add
you
a
clear.
work more.
Got it. Thank
Okay.
you. Well, once I call for the motion,
I
that would
raised my hand
be,
like 3 times and it keeps getting
then we
lower.
can, yes, but what happened is she already explained. Domingo, you have any problem with that?
No, I agree with this resolution. What I disagree with is just this assumption that we're pushing government to do good. What I recommend is that we identify how much money is being invested into civic engagement and community service to help develop youth leaders, and potentially ask for an increase, being that we propose to get these youth voting at a younger age. I'm assuming there has to be an investment into the civic component on how to how to support them in their educational process, on how to be civically engaged in community service and leadership development. But I don't think it's about seeking a good intention without a base of, this is what we want, this is what we're asking for, this is the current funding for this. We look to expand that, because unfortunately it's like, yes, we want youth leadership. We all have, if you work in a school, you know that there's student governments, that there's this is already being developed. That there's enough funding to fully develop it, maybe not, so if you're going, if that's the route you're going, then yes, I agree with this. But I don't I would have to agree with Maria. I'm not sure what this is about if we're not seeking to provide a recommendation on, look, previous month, we asked for the age to be lowered in the state of New York. This month, we're asking for an increase in funding to be able to get that age or build up to that age so that they could receive more civic engagement, more community service opportunities, and more leadership development, so they could be much more informed voters when they vote if they're younger. That's all I'm proposing. But the way it currently stands, it's confusing. It's because it's like we're asking them for a good intention, when in reality, we're just providing a follow-up to what we previously voted. Now that we did vote on that and it passed very well, now we're seeking for funding to be able to support what we just previously passed. That's my recommendation.
All right. So to discuss this resolution, what we call a debate, according to the Robert rules, we have to open up the discussion formally by calling a motion. Once the motion is second, all this conversation and opinions and amendment, it will take place, but
Jacob
not prior
seconded.
to. No, let me finish. And I appreciate that you seconded. So this is how I believe it should go. And that's what I'm trying to do. I just listened to Maria. I just finished listening to you. But all this comment that you made is supposed to be after we pass the motion, because that's after the motion is that comes to debate. Now, let's go into the motion officially. Let's reinstate it, and then we're gonna reinstate or take a face value what you and Maria say, because the time is up on us. Now, I am calling a motion in support of youth, a resolution in support of youth community engagement, building relationship for a strong leadership and better community. May I have a second?
I seconded.
Okay, Jacob, second. Okay, good. Now, the motion is on the floor. Now we're going to start the debate. So let me explain. We already passed a resolution that is only concentrating and allowing young people at the age of 16 to be able to vote. Right now, as it is, they cannot vote for the governor. If today there was an election for the governor, they cannot. And the next term, if this summer, the legislature passed the resolution, that means that young people in the near future, they will be able to vote for the governor. That's what we did last month. What we're asking now is, let's go at the bottom of this quickly. What we're asking is, especially Board of President, to put emphasis not only in Manhattan, we can make it Manhattan only, and ask our own Board of President, Mark Levine, to concentrate and to put emphasis in the idea that, and not only him, let me make a parenthesis, not only him, but also City Council, our council member, De La Rosa, and all our elected officials, to support the idea by creating venue in which they allow young kids or young people to get involved in their community, to build relationship with them, to build relationship with their own community for a strong, leadership. Because if we empower them as a result that they are getting involved, their leadership skill will grow. And definitely, if they grow as a leader, so it's a potential to improve the community. That's exactly what I am proposing here. And as I say on the first whereas, Community Board 12 Youth and Education Committee has always acknowledged and vouched for the involvement of youth in their community and the importance of building relationships. We know we have been doing this. As a second whereas, as an important voice in the community of Washington Heights and Inwood, our board firmly believes that the encouragement of youth engagement in their community and building community relationship would help create many desirable benefits in the lives of young people, including help to build trust within their community, develop their leadership skills, demonstrate that their participation and view are valuable and considerate, and be part of the decision-making process in important matters affecting their community. And whereas giving youth, I meant to say young people, the opportunity to contribute and share their input will allow active collaboration between adults and youth, integrate youth into committees with adults who can act as a mentors, form relationship with teachers who engage youth in community concerns, and increase youth involvement. And whereas finally, the Community Board 12 calls upon the Board of President offices, meaning all the boroughs in NYC basically, and their community boards in New York City to support. Can you scroll down, please? Yeah, okay, thank you. To support and involving of youth community engagement and building relationship for a strong leadership and better community. I want to say that this is, it had some typo because that was a quick how do you call, written that I put together this afternoon. That was not done a long time ago, but just this afternoon, because I recall also that when we passed the resolution, when we presented the resolution at the last general meeting, some of the folks mentioned pets. Are you considering youth involvement in the community? I would love to see that. And that's something that I always have an eyes on it. So now that you know exactly what is the intention of this, remember, this is just a draft. This resolution is calling for your input. Whatever you think that we should, although you want to volunteer to be changed, to be added, please, by all means, it's in your hands right now, and you have the freedom to do that. Thank you. Questions?
I'm
Maria?
seeing several hands.
No, I have no questions, sir. So I don't know, you're looking for what? You already have a second, right? So you're going for the vote? Is that what you're saying now?
No, what I want is your input. Should
I
we
don't-
continue with
as I
this?
said,
This is do you think that our board should
No,
support?
no. Faye, please, let me just explain myself.
Oh,
I will have to really analyze this thing, clearly
okay.
about having any input. I don't want to make a mistake. I just want,
Okay.
I have to be very careful because this resolution is going all over the place. We have to make sure that we know what we are talking about clearly in order to engage everybody that you mentioned in here, borough president, community boards all over the place and things like that. So that's my position. I'm going to abstain
Okay.
from making a decision tonight because I'm still not sure how my input will be taken.
Okay. Anybody else? Yes, Miriam? Miriam?
Miriam, I think you're on mute.
Okay. Domingo?
I've spoken a lot. Emily could go.
I was gonna say, Sophie, are we like opening the floor to see if there's any amendments we want to make to this draft?
Yeah, and if we have to rewrite it,
Okay.
almost half of it or the whole thing, but the concept is to support youth engagement in our community and building relationship.
Right. So Domingo mentioned something that made complete sense. I don't know if you could scroll, but what he mentioned, is it in the resolution right now? Because if it's not mentioned, then would it be a separate whereas that could be added to this resolution? Because I feel like it's a detail that would be needed.
Many is needed. But
Yeah,
that's
because
why
it's specific enough to like actually support, how it would, filtrate curriculums in schools, because you need the funding and details like that. I feel like would help get legislators, Manhattan Borough President, and like any other entity that you're mentioning here to get on board, so they're not like, how, thinking like, how am I going to do this? So I think that was a good point that Domingo made. I think maybe you could put some verbiage into this, use the verbiage you just used, Domingo, to add it as a whereas.
Okay, thank you, Emily. Let me refrain, take one step back so you guys can have better idea. So this is just a few lines that I put there, but this is not the final, this is just to begin. Okay, this is a resolution just to begin. The central idea is whether or not we as a community board support the idea that young people, or to help them get engaged in their community and building relationship so they can enhance their leadership basically and make of, as a result of that, make of this a better community. This is just an idea that is pretty much not too far from what we are looking for. The central idea is that we want to, as a voice in this community, help young people, encourage them to get involved in their community so they can feel part of this community, so they can polish their skill, they can build their interpersonal skill, all that kind of things. It basically helps them to become leaders. So this is just an idea as to of what I can see that we can do. But this is not, but under no circumstances mean that this is the final product. We as a committee are asking you to volunteer 3, 5 whereas if you want to. If you know exactly, if you understand, or whether or not you agree or disagree, that encouraging young people to get involved in their community is a good thing, I think you can think of in which way, what goes along with this, what we should come up with to make that happen, what we should ask in this resolution to support their engagement so they can create that strong, leadership. That's the central idea. At the end, when I'm proposing that the Board of Presidents should call, that we call or asking the Board of Presidents, perhaps, Manhattan Board of President. I thought of maybe Brooklyn Board of President. It's not necessarily have to transcend to Brooklyn because we are in Manhattan and maybe we have probably more or solid relationship with our, Board of President Levine. We may ask and reduce the idea of asking other community board. Instead, we can concentrate only on our Board of President in Manhattan. It's all looking at you. It's all on the table. It's for you to improve this idea. If you think this idea have the merits to move forward with. If you think that this is bad idea, we're gonna vote no and we will disregard this whole proposal. Just that simple. Do you understand my message? In other words, this is not the entire resolution. This is just a draft.
And this is the one that, so sorry, I did raise my hand, but then I just started talking. And this is the same resolution that we brought forth to the general meeting that was voted for, like positively, right? It's the same one.
No, I'm proposing a new resolution. We already had a resolution last month. We're done with it. The board voted on it. We already finished with that resolution. We created
this is a new one.
We're proposing a new resolution that has nothing to do with allowing young people to vote at the age of 16. The past resolution was about asking all the elected officials and the legislature at the state level to pass a resolution that would allow 16 years old young people to vote on the state, campaign. So this is a new resolution proposing that young people, that we as a community board support the idea that young people get engaged in their community and building relationship. That's what we are asking, that we support that idea. And in any way that we as a community board can help them to get involved. For example, let me give you an example. We can say, for example, let's be more vocal about bringing young people to volunteer in the community board, because that already exists. But because it exists, that doesn't mean that we necessarily are strongly advocating for that idea. You know what I mean? But if we pass a resolution saying we really and sincerely, we wanted to encourage young people to get involved in their community. So we want to help them to get engaged in the community and building, and build relationship. that's a different thing. So
Okay.
the resolution that we pass is something different as what we are proposing tonight.
Okay, I thought that it was the same one. That's why I was like, oh, I guess we're making more amendments. Okay. So being that this seems more large scale, I don't know if it's one of these resolutions that requires the input of other committees, just because I feel like, for example, some of the things that we could specify or add detail about in this resolution could be part of like parks and recreation, where there's activities that kids could do depending by season, and that could be like a whereas. And then, something about land use. I don't know how they would get involved in that, but maybe there's some kind of a creative way that we could involve youth in like the history of local parts of our city or something. And then, I feel like there's something that each committee could probably add to this, even for housing, human services and all that. And it being that it seems like it doesn't have to just be limited to Manhattan, that we could even ask for like collaboration, because even housing and human services, we collaborate with other community boards.
Yes.
So it would like start, it would be a process, but I think this is great. Just that we do need, it would be a very like long resolution, because there's a lot of ways that we could get youth involved, and then we would have to like call upon the entities that would help in mobilizing whatever ideas we have to put here. But I agree with it.
This is a great suggestion. So basically, narrowing your your input, you envision that we have an opportunity here to involve other committees to be part of this encouragement of having young people engage in their community, right? Emily?
Yeah, definitely. Because all the time I always hear, I've been to a few parks and parks committee meetings, and they're always talking about like, having music and art and involving the community in events and stuff, and it always involves youth. So that could definitely, like maybe Liz has a lot of great ideas that she could.
She's great, and she's gonna help us probably. We'll ask her as well. But what we're collecting is your input right now, and whatever input you volunteer, like the input that you already just volunteer. So that's something that we're going to consider it before we present this or bring this to the executive committee, pending that tonight we adopt this with the promise that we're going to improve this before it gets to the general meeting. So thank you, Emily. So anybody else?
I'd like to make a point, if I may, Faye.
Please.
I appreciate everyone's input so far, and I agree with the sentiment of like, I'm on board with the general concept. I understand that this is a follow-up resolution to the one that we had already passed. I think that's an important detail that we may want to consider as an explicit whereas. That's like, whereas, this community board has already passed a resolution proposing to lower the voting age. We would now like to also encourage the city to improve youth engagement and the youth civic awareness, so that this is really building on what we've already done. And I think Emily made a good point in talking about what other areas of the board can we bring in. I think I don't have a great suggestion, but I think if we can make this as specific as possible, as Domingo mentioned, having data to say like, this is specifically what we're asking for, I think will really help the general board understand the point of this resolution in a way that right now it's just a little bit hard to understand what's being asked. So I don't have great specifics for those things, but I know at our meeting, it was Nobles Crawford mentioned, the city should bring back the civic classes. I don't know what that means, but like, sounds great to me. I would love to see something like that in here if we can in some way.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else? Miriam, are you there?
I'm here.
Please, Miriam.
I have
Thank you.
no, I have nothing to add.
Oh, I saw your hands up. All right.
No, my hand was, that must be from before.
Oh.
I want to say something about this resolution or proposal.
Please.
Yeah, actually, I agree with the main concept of this resolution, right? And like, Domingo and Jacob mentioned, yeah, well, we can kind of extend the information on each areas, so the rest of the community board can kind of easily understand that, you know, like what is the purpose of each of these whereas, yeah. But the main concept, again, I totally agree with it.
Okay. Thank you. So anybody else? Okay.
Domingo put something in the chat. I think it was good.
Okay.
Whereas CB12 calls for collaboration between governments, educational institutions, nonprofit organizations, and the private sector to create synergistic partnerships that foster youth civic engagement and community services. And then he has another whereas, and then he said you still need data to support the whereases. To me, they sound good.
Right, that's correct, and that's pretty much what I was trying to say. Like,
we can create a whereas definitely with his proposal. Another anybody else? Okay, this is Cuevas, right? Cuevas, okay, input. And remember, in regard probably also to the on the title, perhaps the title can be just limited to one single line that may say in support of youth, community engagement, and disregard the rest. If you think this is create some confusion. But before we conclude with this meeting, all I wanted to make clear to all of you is that the intention in this draft that is waiting for many more whereases is that the central point is to support the idea that youth should be indeed be engaged and help them to get engaged in their community. What we passed last month, it has some correlation, because the fact that if the resolution is passed if the legislation is passed, that means that they're going to have the opportunity to get involved in a more official manner, I should say. But you may vote only once every X amount of years, but this is looking for every single opportunity that we as a board can help them to get engaged in the community in any possible way, where they going to build their leadership skills. So if that makes sense to you, yes.
Faith, there's a comment from the public in the chat.
Yes.
Austin says, I would suggest advertising these ideas directly to students, principals, and parents. In my experience, I've seen many youth wanting something to do, as well as show that they are important in their immediate community.
Okay.
I think that's a good idea.
That's a good idea. That's a good idea that we can consult then. I wanted to say also that's something that we can do it probably like once the committee decide or support what we are discussing here, we may have to get their input before the general meeting, because the general meeting is the one that is going to decide with all the inputs collectively that we come up with. They're going to decide whether or not they wanted to support this idea or support this resolution. So yes, I definitely think that tomorrow I can talk to the to the school district and several principal and even teachers that I know myself, so, and present them the idea so we can collect some input from the students as well. Thank you. This is a very valuable or thoughtful suggestion. Yes. Who else? And I just to make clear, should we disregard the idea of having how do you call? Should we disregard the idea on the last whereas where we calling upon the community board to ask the support for all board of president offices, meaning that should we just concentrate in Manhattan? And the Manhattan Board of President office only? In other words, I know some of you seems to be probably lost. And the last whereas, we are asking the community board to call upon all the Board of President offices, meaning Mark Levine offices, the Board of President in Brooklyn, and the 5 borough. We, as a community board, what I'm saying here or suggesting that we ask them to support the idea citywide, basically, that they support the idea of encouraging young people to get involved in their community. We're not inventing any wheel. This already exists. A lot of community are already very much engaged in helping young people to get involved in their community. But if you can tell me what our community board, some of the things that we are doing as a community board to attract young people to get involved in the community, that they come on our behalf, let's say, or that we say, hey, send me, let's say that we approach private school and say, send me those kids over here so they can get to know the community board, or we're going to send them, or we're going to connect them with a 5 organization where they can put in practice, their skills. Are we doing this right now? Because that would be one idea that I can think of that our board can do, for them. And that would be civil engagement, of course.
This is Maria.
Yes.
I do recall at the beginning of this conversation, I mentioned to you that the last whereas this draft resolution speak to the community board 12 calls upon all the Board of President's office and their community boards in New York City. We are acting. We have to concentrate in our county, in our community board 12 first. Try to involve the other community boards. So this could be discussed by the Board of President at his monthly meeting when this resolution or this, concern gets to his desk, to make sure that we engage first here and then reach out to the other areas. That was my point at the beginning. I think we are, stretching our responsibility from this community board have a responsibility to supply and to give the information to the city councils, the Board of President, and from there, whatever decision is made on our resolution from this county, this Manhattan County, has to take place. Brooklyn, Bronx, the Staten Island don't have to get involved at this time about this particular issue.
Okay.
We're talking about something that is, this is really reaches out to national issues, states issues, and things like that. So if you simplify this thing, we'll get more ears than what we are trying to accomplish. We are just, making this just too large an issue that no one is going to pay attention, in my position. Okay, this is what I think. People to be saying why.
I got it.
Supposed to limit it to what our power is all about.
All right.
Local power, then then we have to deal with the rest.
Very
Okay.
good. No, I got it, Maria. And yes, you have a very valid point. Hello, Maria.
Yes, I'm here.
Yes, no, I thought that I lost you.
No,
So
no.
yes, I think we're gonna narrow, definitely, we should narrow it to just the for you know our community. But mention Board of Presidents, so we're going to concentrate in Manhattan. So, but I think that passing this resolution, I don't know, maybe other community board, they already have gone through this. They already may have already passed a resolution on the same idea. I don't know, I'm not sure, but I think that it's a valid point. We don't have to make this like citywide things or asking all Board of President to support this idea, but we should just narrow it just verily to the in our district, you know. So meaning that between our community board, Washington Heights, and the Board of President office. So we're going to be calling the Board of President and our elected official in our district to support this, the idea. And also we should come up with a whereas where we are asking them to perhaps create, and we support the creation of opportunity for young people to get more involved. Something like that, so something, you know, to that nature. So now, do we have any other question? Jacob?
No, but I believe Emily may have a question.
Oh, no, yeah, I was just gonna emphasize that I agree with what Alvin said in the chat as well.
Yes.
About specifying the age group that we're talking about here. Because I was already under the assumption that we were still talking 16 and up, because I was like thinking of the other resolution. But yeah, that was all I was gonna say.
Well, what about, thank you, Alvin. What about considering studying at high school level? Or you think that should be middle school? We can create, whereas asking that we should start at high school level. I think I tell you why high school level may be probably a good idea.
Maybe middle
the level
school.
of care and attention, it's more kind of independence when you deal with a high school student as you dealing with a middle school student. For example, kids that is probably 12 or 13 years old, let's say, for example. A high school had more buoyancy to move around. And this how I can vision, you know, this. Maybe the idea of middle school, high school might be probably a good idea to start. But if the majority think that we should, you know, considering starting a middle school, what the majority said, the majority, you know, should win on this.
Yeah, I have several youth advocates in our community-based organization that are in middle school that can run circles around grown people when it comes to knowing who's who in politics and what job does what. So I think that we should understand that our children are much smarter than we think they are.
Sure.
And it's really important to engage them as early and as possible. So my vote would be for middle school, to start in middle school.
You think that we should consider starting a middle school, getting that involved in middle school?
Yes, and I was thinking, like, right, in this resolution, can we expand it to, you know, suggest to the schools in our community that they start civic classes again? Civic, you know, I think since we're writing another resolution, and to make sure that it doesn't get mixed up with the other resolution that we already wrote, it should be unique. And when I say that, I mean, I've seen a couple of people mention it in here, but it's something that I feel strongly about too. Civil engagement and civil services should be taught in school. Our children should be being taught in school about politics and policies and ways to get involved and how to become, how to give back to your community. So maybe, I don't know, we could discuss for a minute expanding the resolution to encourage schools, whereas CB12 encourages all of our public schools to engage in public in civil services and in teaching our children these classes again, if we really want to talk about getting our kids involved in this.
We can possibly among all the things that you just said, thank you, first of all, and I think that we can incorporate a line where we specify or highly encourage the district school to consider also promoting the idea among students studying a middle school, or to encourage a student to get involved in their community. Something like that. Yes. All right. So I think that the time is up on us. If no one else has any further, question, I really wanted to thank you for your input. We're going to improve this. I'm going to speak with with some of our members. I'm going to bring this to the executive committee pending if we pass this tonight. If we pass this tonight, is with the agreement that this draft is going to adopt the friendly amendment that you have volunteered, the suggestion that you have volunteered, because this is probably not even a friendly amendment at this point, because this is just a draft, an idea so far, asking for improvement and asking for assistance to really come up with a concrete resolution, because this is not a resolution. This is just a draft based on the idea of supporting youth into community engagement. But we're going to give body to this idea with all the input that you have collectively provided us with. And of course, the some of our colleagues, perhaps Liz Reading may be able, Steve Simon may help us to enhance this idea. So with that in mind, I wanted to call for the vote. So you voting, remember that we are accepting all your ideas, your inputs. We're going to improve this draft, and this draft definitely we're going to also incorporate other idea that perhaps the executive committee or some of our members, will volunteer to help us with. At the general meeting, whatever we come up with, or the final resolution that will be presenting at the general meeting, then will be decided whether or not the full board is going to adopt that. And I wanted also to mention that you may not come up with any other idea right now, but at the general meeting, you also will have another opportunity to, to provide further input on this. And you also going to have time sufficient to see what is going to be proposed at the general meeting in advance the general meeting, so you can also read it and come up with whatever you wanted, whatever idea you wanted to volunteer by then. So you understand? All right, so I guess that, this is it. So now I would like to call for the voting. Maria.
Yeah, I'm muting. Yeah.
I'm not sure you would be able to vote, but I will take your vote.
No, listen, I am going to abstain.
Yes.
Now, then at the
I'm not sure.
Make a decision.
Okay.
If it's okay.
Yeah, of course. So, okay, now we are going to start the voting procedure. Members of the committee are going to, I'm going to call them for the vote. And then we continue with the with board members. And then with the, if there is any member of the public, we also call them for, to collect their vote. Yes, you are in agreement, so we can move with this idea, with this proposal. No, you are, in opposition, abstain, you're not sure whether or not you should vote yes or no, or agree with it. And no is no, as I said. All right, so members. All right, Jacob.
Sorry, I'm also keeping minutes, so we're in roll call.
We're voting. I'm calling the vote. I'm calling the vote now for you to say yes or no.
I vote yes.
Okay. Domingo?
I abstain.
Okay. Luis?
Abstain.
Okay. Jonathan? Jonathan, are you with us? All right. Maria abstains. She already said that. Emily?
I abstain.
Okay. Let me see who else. Let me see. Louis already left. Louis. Okay, so I
Louis
vote yes.
abstained.
Louis abstain. Okay, Louis abstain. And Fred, yes. Okay, now let's go with members of the board. Okay, Elvin?
I abstain.
Abstain. Tanisha?
Yeah.
You say yes?
Yes.
Thank you. Naomi? Wait a minute, let me clarify this. Before Naomi, Haiti?
I abstain.
Okay, Haiti abstain. Okay, I believe Naomi is a new member, right, Naomi? Or member of the public?
Member of the public, I abstain.
Okay. Oops, I'm calling members of the board. Okay. Naomi abstain. Okay. Okay, let's see who else. Do we have any other members? Okay, so the proposal result did not pass. Okay, all right. Not all the time we're gonna get what we want. So.
I have a question, Faye.
Yes.
But is this something, because like in the beginning, how I said that I think it would be helpful if it crossed paths with other committees. Does that mean, like, if you agree with this, that it would have to float to other committees and they would put their input before we could even bring it to general? Or would you bring it to executive and tell them and like let them know, hey, there's this resolution that I think I would need input from the committees. Can you guys please look at it for the next meeting, at least for the meetings that are left in this month for the other committees? Because we already had a meeting and health and environment had it, housing had it, and health and environment had their meeting, and I assume aging as well. So there's not that many other committees that could have meetings on this, at least this month. So we would have to wait for September, but it would have to cross other committees, no?
Okay, we gave, as it is, according to the result, I don't want to deviate, but let me just go into the result before I answer you the questions. So,
Okay.
And thank you definitely, for asking. So, so far all members abstain with the exception of Jacob and myself. Members of the committee, only 2 yes, and the rest, they all abstain. Oh, yeah, Jacob and myself, yes, and the rest abstain. Now, in terms of the board members, they also all abstain. Domingo also abstained. They all abstain. So we are the only only one board member, which was Tanisha, say yes. So that means that this proposal didn't pass. Okay, didn't pass. And therefore, hold on. And therefore, I'm writing all this down. It didn't pass. So we close this. We're going to close then this chapter. So the resolution didn't pass. Now, let me proceed to answer the question that Emily asked. So we closing this motion, okay? It didn't pass. This is the outcome. Now, this is what can happen next. This is as a committee decision that that means that we're not clear, or the majority is not clear in what was explained. That doesn't mean necessarily that we're going to completely disregard this idea. I'm going to bring this result to James Berlin at the executive committee. I'm going to explain to him what happened and to see what other possibility at the general meeting we can come up with. So, and if he decide or he recommend that we should continue this conversation or this proposal in September, so that would be a whole new ball game. But for the record tonight, the proposal resolution in support of youth engagement in the community did not pass. And I want to thank you, all of you, for your time and for your decision.
May I say something, Faye? I'm sorry.
It's okay.
Okay.
Yes.
Number one, it started with the wrong heading. It's not we did not vote on a resolution. We voted on a draft resolution, meaning that it was not completed. And this is why some of the members, the old members or the new members, are not they are uneasy on voting yes or not or whatever. As you recall, there were some comments on the chat that should have been included tonight, right now, on this resolution, on this draft resolution, to make it more agreeable to the consent of all the members. Jim Berlin is going to tell you the same. I'm sure he's going to tell you the same thing. This resolution is like, it was just a discussion of a resolution and not of really a resolution presented, because as I said, you said draft resolution. If it's a resolution that has to be amended and increase, reduce, or whatever it is, then that will be the vote will have been gone the different way. How the vote now for the new members, if you have a resolution that you want to include comments from other committees, that has to be done when we meet. The committees meet together. They have joint committees meeting, discuss a particular idea. Since the members of those committees were not privy to what we were discussing here, there is no merit on us including them in anything as of now. Now, my proposal is, or my suggestion is that at the executive committee meeting, just Faye, you explained that you have presented a draft resolution. There were some different additional ideas, amendments, and changes, and you could not put the full resolution together for a complete vote. So that means that someone is going to say, okay, so we could put those amendments or changes could be included on this particular resolution that we all have, we know that have merit but we couldn't pass the way it was presented. If we could be added as a new business at the end of the meeting, then you can then get the vote of the full board in support or abstention, whatever, on this particular resolution. Now, if you continue saying draft, it's not going anyplace. Now,
But that's what it was.
Huh?
That's what it was. It was not a
Well,
complete
it
resolution.
was it was a resolution to be discussed, amended, or changed, or things like that. But I'm saying that you put someplace draft resolution. Take that thing out. Take that draft resolution out. That word, because it's really impacting negatively in your work, in that particular resolution. All right. Now you can add some suggestions that were on the chat, included that, and then presented to the executive committee to see what they tell you about it. They can say to you, okay, we're going ahead, because you already have the ears of everybody here, but you didn't have the votes because it wasn't a complete resolution. You follow me?
Perfectly well, but what I wanted to say, if I may,
Faye, I don't think I don't believe that this is going to go through the way we are discussing it now at the executive committee.
Okay.
You can try, but just to make everybody.
No, I'm not going to bring it to the executive committee. I'm just going to tell the community the experience that we have as a committee of something, of a proposal or a draft that I presented to you. But I'm not going to necessarily ask them to vote on anything because it didn't pass on committee. So it's nothing to pursue any further, except to report them our intention and how the intention, what was the result of that intention.
Right, but this is, okay, so this is what I'm saying. You explain to them what happened.
Yes, exactly.
Suggestion, but the way it is, but I'm urging you to take this draft word out of the resolution, okay, any presentation that you do at the executive committee. Okay, just said that we have a resolution. It may, we have some comments, adjustments, and amendments and things like that.
It's just report to them I know what you are saying, and I think that you have the idea that I may not understanding, and I agree with you. But the reality is that because the decision of the committee collectively, there was no business. It failed for now. For now.
It didn't fail. It wasn't that the additional things that
Maria, okay,
says that had to be discussed with other committees and other committees, the environmental, the park, this and that. All that is relevant to the decision that people will abstain until this is clarified.
Yeah, but that particular part that you just said, that may happen at the general committee, at the general meeting, because remember, at the general meeting is when the whole board, meaning especially other committee, we have the opportunity to partake on this. Before we present it to the general committee, we may have the opportunity to, let's say, for example, like Emily suggested, that we would like for we suggest that other committee also take part on this.
They already met. Some of them already met.
If I could interject, could I make a suggestion? Because I feel like we're talking in circles and it's 10 o'clock.
Yes, I feel the same way.
I think an appropriate course of action here, Faye, I think, is to amend the resolution given the feedback that we've had tonight. I think it would be great if you're able to seek input from the executive committee on what other committee chairs feel they would like to have included. And I feel like I would love to propose that we revisit this probably at our September meeting. To revisit an amended resolution and see how we feel about it then. I think that's a great point for Maria, that this didn't have the votes tonight because it is still a draft. And I think if we revisit it, folks may feel differently. I realize it's not great to wait until September, but at the same time, if we're talking about making changes to curriculum or anything like that, that's not going to happen during the summer anyway. So perhaps we could, I don't know how appropriately Robert's Rules of Order wise to suggest that, but that's my suggestion.
Thank you. Now, just to conclude this, I definitely going to report what happened tonight to the executive committee. They will come up with suggestion. I will present everything to them, and whatever suggestion they come up with, it will be, I will share with you. Besides, you will see it probably in YouTube, whatever. So, and whatever they say, we will follow up. But I can probably see that this may go to, we may have to move this to September so we can further elaborate. And remember, what happened with the original, with the previous resolution, it was the same thing. We presented something that it was just a draft, and we collectively improved that draft. When we presented to the executive committee, they provide inputs. They, and then those input that they provided at the executive committee were presented at the general meeting, and there we have more inputs, meaning more friendly amendment, and the resolution passed. That's it.
So
that was the same thing that we were trying to do tonight, but for some reason, probably it wasn't, I did not probably specify or you did not understand clearly what it was, because I noticed that some folk may feel that, oh, wait a minute. Some folk may feel that they were thinking about the previous resolution that we passed, and they trying to correlate one thing with the other or associate one thing with the other. That's my understanding. But just to, before we move to close the meeting, so again, I'm going to bring the result of this conversation to the executive committee as I ought to report, and then we will take it from there. So any question before we move to end the meeting or to adjourn the meeting?
Yeah, I was just going to say, just to clarify, that you would present this at the executive, asking all committees to take a look at it or circulate it amongst the committees to add it as an agenda item so that by September we could vote on it. Is that the process? Because I also need clarification on how to best, amend a resolution at a committee meeting, because I know you can't do it on the side. You could only make amendments during a meeting, right? So
sure.
Because you can't tell people can you look at this draft and make amendments on the side, and then we'll visit those amendments at the next meeting. That can't be done according to the Robert
rules. Yes. No, what happened is identically what we presented tonight. We may add it up, some of the suggestions, if not all the suggestions that you volunteer, but the fact that didn't pass, when I present that to the outcome to the executive committee, they are going to tell me what kind of advice do they have, especially James Berlin, and could be any other members who are very savvy, on this area. So they're going to make a suggestion, but according to my experience and what I have witnessed here, because it didn't pass in committee, because usually pass in the committee, so potentially it have the door open for the executive committee to second it and approval, and then move into the general meeting. But because didn't pass in the committee to begin with, that's exactly where we know exactly. I'm not sure we will be able to present it this month, but the executive committee will have the final word on this. That's what I'm trying to say.
Okay, so yeah. I guess we could just take a look at it and revisit it again.
Yeah, that's exactly what is going to happen. So should we, I wanted to also, if there is any announcement among you that you wanted to share, any upcoming event, if we don't have any question concerning our, proposed draft. No? Okay, Jacob, you have any question, any comment, any further comments? Okay, well, I wanted to thank you, all of you, for your support. And I do wanted to say apologies because the meeting took additional hours. Sometime that happened, and I do apologize for that. But I think it's been very interesting, meeting tonight. I have learned a great deal. And I wanted to say that in the upcoming meetings and perhaps September, I wanted to say that you're going to witness there are changes that are coming into our committee. So, and this month is going to be some surprise that I would not want to volunteer tonight, but you should see it soon. But I wanted to say that we're going to have interesting changes coming into our committee soon. I wanted to thank you all for your time. I'm really looking forward to working with you in all possible way. New members, I highly encourage that you get involved in all possible ways and give your best that you decide to share, with our board. And I really wanted to thank you for taking the initiative to join the board. I hope some of you, if not all of you, join us and make this committee a better committee, because it's always room to improve, to make things better, to create new leaders, opportunity for you to also put those leadership that you have, in practice, and come up with all these good ideas and, share your creativity with us. So I want to thank you all for everything. Jacob, you've been amazing. I want to thank you so much as well for all the support that, you have given to our committee. And I wanted to say that before, September comes again, that I feel very privileged to being part of this committee for so many years. So I look forward to seeing you soon and continue working with you as far as I can. And let's see what happens and what the future holds. But we may have some good news coming, soon for this committee. All right. So right now, no one has any question. I want to call the meeting to adjourn at 10:08 p.m. And thank you, Maria. Thank you so much for your service. I really, really appreciate you all. And thank you for teaching me so many things, even about your character.
Thank you. See you around.
All right.
Good night, everyone.
Good night, guys.
Bye.
Bye.